Esteemed audience knows that I never make my guests sit through me bumbling over their biography or their books. Why would you listen to me summarizing that to you? How painful that would be. So if you would, the best place to get started is just go ahead and give an overview of your background.
Well, that's a good question. So I am a Southern California author. Been writing since I was a kid, and I am a writer. I'm of everything pretty much. Currently I have young adult novels, middle grade novels, younger middle grade novels, a chapter book series, and several picture books, with more of each published and forthcoming. My novel, What Girls Are Made Of, was a finalist for the National Book Award in 2017. And my YA novel, Damsel, was a Printz Honor winner the next year. And my most recent middle grade novel is called The House That Wasn't There. Just today, I found out that it's on Kirkus's Best Books of the Year list. For last year. It was a pandemic book, along with a couple other publications I've had, which is certainly an interesting time for so many of us, such a challenging time as humans and as writers as well. And I'm very excited because my new book, Just Harriet, is coming out in February 1st. And it's another young chapter book, meaning that it's about 22,000 words, like A Boy Called Bat and its sequels. And it's lightly illustrated by Young Ho, and it is absolutely beautifully done. She did the cover as well as the interior art. So I'm very excited to talk about that as well. How'd I do?
That was almost 100% perfect.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you some questions because I've been obsessively going through your biography, and I want to break it down just a little bit. I was fascinated. I'm looking at your list of books. I'm like, this must be someone who has been doing this just forever. And then I saw that Sacred was just published in 2012.
Mm-hmm.
And I was, oh my God, all of that in 9 years? That's incredible.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Yeah, well, I have been a writer for a long time, but I have only been publishing, I guess 9 years, coming up on 10. Although my first book came out in November of 2012, so almost the end of it even. It's one of those things where there's always a circuitous path that we're not aware of as, readers. But no path to publication in my experience is totally straight. Mine involved about a 10-year hiatus from writing after I got my master's degree, and a return to it through the form of blogging. During the Great Recession, my husband got laid off. He had the higher earning job, and we decided for various reasons to sell our house and all of our possessions and move into an old RV and hit the road. And we took a long trip up through the Pacific Northwest. And I started a blog called People Do Things. And it was the first time I had regularly written in many years. And it's like, why shouldn't we sell our house and our belongings? People do things. We can do this thing. It's kind of the impetus for that. And I have a few quotes that I'm very proud of. One of them is People Do Things. And for the first time in my life, really, I had an audience. I was being read, not by tons of people, but I think I had a few hundred readers, and they comment and tell me about their recession stories and their time living in RVs. And it was such a fantastic feeling to be read that I decided that I was going to write a novel again. I was going to finally do it. And then we ended up in Corvallis, Oregon, where my husband and I both applied for jobs, and I got one first. Teaching at OSU composition, and we are an unschooling family. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but very child-led homeschool life, non-religious, just adventure-based. And so one of us, needed to be the more stay-at-home parent, so it became my husband, and I went back to work, and I worked very hard, and then I got very sick. And I remember walking one day across campus thinking to myself, it was pouring rain, and I was carrying a stack of papers like this, and I was very ill. And I thought to myself, if I ever get the chance, I'm going to finish a novel. That's it, I'm done. If I get well enough to write again, because at the time I couldn't even see very clearly, I will finish a novel. And then I got sicker, and I had to quit my job, and we had to move back to Southern California because we didn't know if I was going to need more care. And then I got better. And then I wrote my first novel. We were living in Long Beach in a house fairly close to the water, and across the way was Catalina Island, which I've always loved. And it seemed to me to be the perfect place to set an island. Actually, it was my husband's idea to set the story there. Sacred is a novel about a girl who is not doing well in the wake of her brother's death and a mysterious newcomer to the island. And I needed a place to set the story where there was very low crime rate and where the place was like an island. And he said, why not set it on Catalina? I thought, there you go, perfect. So that was Sacred. I wrote Sacred very quickly. I wrote it in about 11 weeks, the first draft. And it was such a thrill to finally finish a novel. It was the first novel I ever finished on my own. I've written some romance novels for fun with friends as a younger person, but this was my first independent book. And there you go. I found an agent and it became my first published book. That was a very long answer to your question, Rob.
No, we love long answers here. That's fantastic, because we're going to learn all kinds of stuff that I won't know to ask if you don't give us a long answer. Although it does strike me that Sacred set on an island, and of course, Just Harriet, available February 1st, is set on an island as well.
Yes.
Have you ever lived on an island? Do you have an unspoken wish or unfulfilled wish to live on an island?
Yeah, actually, Marble Island, the island in Just Harriet, is also it's based on Catalina Island, although it doesn't say. It's called Marble Island, and it's also, funnily enough, set at a bed and breakfast. And Sacred, my first novel, is also set at a bed and breakfast on Catalina Island. So apparently, I have a desire to at least pretend to live on an island and run a B&B. So I also am a big fan of Miss Marple, Agatha Christie's character, who talks about a village being, this place where you can know all types of people in a small, on a small scale. You don't need to leave the village to know everyone. It's the basic theory. And that just seems like such a great, I like as a writer, I like closed systems and small settings. And so an island is a lovely place where, everybody's there. And also, as Harriet's the first in a series of gentle mysteries. And an island and a bed and breakfast are such a great place because you have this core cast of characters that stays on the island, but then you have this rotating cast of visitors that can come, especially at a bed and breakfast. You can have new characters that come and go with each book, which seems like a pretty great device.
Well, it makes sense to me. So eventually you're going to retire too and running a bed and breakfast. And then every time somebody comes in, you'll ask them their story. Oh, that's great. Let me write that down. That's going to be my next book.
That would be a nice, influx of new stories. I think I am a giant fan of animals, and people are my favorite animal. And I am endlessly interested in what people have to say and what people's lives are like. I always say to my husband, don't you just wish you could line everybody up and just make them tell you their whole story, all their stories, all their secrets? And he says, no, why would you want to do that? I just, it's one of the core differences between us is I would very much like to hear everybody's stories.
Well, I know from the books that I've read for esteemed audience, I've just reread A Boy Called Bat, which we'll talk about some. And then, of course, Just Harriet. And I read the two sequels to A Boy Called Bat, all of which feature animals very prominently. And I know you've got, from your bio, a menagerie of animals around you. For those watching us, they can see your dog right behind you there. How many and there's the cat. How many animals do you have at this time?
Right now, we have the fewest we've had in many years. We have 7, which is still a lot of animals. We have 2 dogs, the little baby Poppy and a big giantess named Phoebe. And we have Joachim here, who was inherited from my grandmother after she passed, and a hairless cat named Crumpet. And we have a gold-capped conure named Bird, and 2 desert tortoises who are currently sleeping in a box of straw in the garage.
And that's the smallest number in years. Did you have animals living with you in the RV as well?
We did, actually, yes. We had another small dog named Sherman and a ferret named Vegas. Yes, and ferrets, as you probably don't know this, but are ill-gotten in California. They're not technically legal in California, so we purchased him in Las Vegas, Nevada, and drove him home, and that's why his name is Vegas. So when we got up to Oregon, to the border, he became a legal pet overnight, which was a big relief. And then we also had 2 hairless cats, but my mother-in-law held on to them until we landed in Oregon, and then she drove them up to us. Hairless cats are not big fans of Oregon weather.
That Charmin with an S?
Karen. My mother-in-law,
Karen.
Karen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I don't imagine hairless. You said hairless cats would not be a big fan of Oregon. The weather just doesn't agree with them.
It's just a little cold. Yeah. Cold and damp. They they like it better here in Southern California.
Oh well, then I'm happy they're back where they belong.
Yes.
So I'm curious about life in the RV, and I know that was it Far From Home is the
Far From Fair. Yes. Yeah.
We'll cover that while you're living. I understand, you bought your house at the top of the market, had to sell it at a loss. But you sold your possessions as well. Is that a conscious decision? On top of that, we're going to be houseless for a while anyway. Let's just do no possessions and see how that goes for us for a while.
Yeah, well, we didn't know where we would land, and furniture. At first, I was thinking, oh, we have to keep some of the stuff, and then one morning I woke up and I was, just sell all of it. I mean, the only things that mattered were the four of us. I mean, obviously more mattered, but as far as stuff to put in the RV, and we had to bring Vegas, who was my son's special friend. We all loved him, and Sherman, our dog. The cats, were a little bit more, they were more flexible as far as cats don't need people, I don't think, in quite the way dogs do. And so they stayed with my mother-in-law for several months. And yeah, we just figured, it's just stuff. We can buy more stuff, which turned out to be true. When we left Oregon, we also sold almost everything, came home with just the animals. So it was okay to let go. At first it was hard, and then it felt really good to really pare down to just the essentials. It felt freeing. It really opened up time in my brain to write again too. I mean, there was no laundry to do, and there were no toys to sort, and there were no books to shelve, and there was just nature and family and time. And it was an interesting decision. My husband had been unhappy at his job for a while, and when he got laid off, it felt like an opening. If we weren't going to try it then when? So we thought we would have an adventure and see where it led us, which was terrifying.
Well, you had this wonderful clarifying, I'm sure, eventually wonderful clarifying moment where we say, okay, well, now I know exactly what matters to me. Then your health goes downhill, you nearly die. And so then I'm assuming somewhere in there, it's okay, that's not going to happen in the time that I have, however long that is. I'm going to write. I'm assuming is what happened just because of your output.
Well, I didn't nearly die. I mean, I thought I was going to, but turned out, I don't actually know completely what was wrong with me, but when I started feeling better, I kind of decided that was enough of going to doctors for me, and I was just going to be glad that I felt good. So, it was, I think all those other years that I hadn't been writing, I had been filling the well, I think all of us are full of stories, and everything we do and everything we read and everyone we meet and everything we fear fills our well. And so when I began writing in earnest, I had a lot to write about, and a real desire to continue to tell stories. And publishing it's a business. Writing is an art, revision is a craft, and writing and publishing is a business. And I'm very interested in the business side of things as well as the art and the craft. I like publishing. I like selling my books. I like meeting readers. I like having relationships with editors. And I've been very fortunate that I have continued to find homes for stories across the whole spectrum. In fact, I have an adult novel that is going to be going out in January knocked on wood, and my dog got excited, going out to agents, or to editors, excuse me. So we'll see.
I mean, fingers crossed, but if I'm an acquiring editor, I look just at your bio and I see it's nothing but everything you write wins awards. I would think it's a no-brainer, but.
Well, thank you. We'll see what the crossover is to the adult side of things. I don't know about that, but I'm pretty excited about this new book. So we'll see what happens.
You've also been writing young adult now for long enough that I would think some of those young adults have gone on to become adults. And
I would think so. And I also know that my audience is very divided. Of my young adult work, I get a lot of letters from teens, but I also get a lot of letters from adults, almost entirely people who identify as women, who read my books. So I hope there's an audience for the adults. We'll see. It's a rough business. I mean, there's no guarantees in the publishing world. All this has to go back to art and craft, because those are the things we have some control over. Although even that sometimes feels like there's this magical element that we don't have control over. So there you go. Control is an illusion, Rob.
Because there's probably some truth to that, but